CBS News has broken the story that the Trump administration has been sending some Mexican nationals to Honduras and Guatemala in their deportations, literally flying them around Mexico.
America, a cable panelist just told you with a straight face that flying a guy to Guatemala instead of Mexico is cruelty. Sit with that for a second. Mexico didn't want him, and he clearly didn't want Mexico because he snuck out of there in the first place. So somebody found him on the third option, and the professional sympathy industry is calling that torture. Just wait, you guys, until you hear what happens to a guy who tries to walk back into the United States from Honduras.
Two Homeland Security officials tell CBS News that the Trump administration has been quietly deporting Mexican migrants to different countries in Central America.
In a statement, in fact, the Mexican Foreign Ministry told us that it rejects the deportation of Mexican nationals to third countries like Honduras and Guatemala. For its part, the Department of Homeland Security told us that it is utilizing lists all lawful options, quote unquote, to carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. That is, of course, a signature promise by President Trump.
What is up, guys? Tyson DeLaCruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Guatemala took 15 Mexican deportees in 2025. This year, 2026, over 2,300. Honduras took in 6 an entire year, then 82 in a single week in August alone. That is not a simple policy tweak here. That is somebody flipping the switch and leaving the room. Now, you guys, my family had to sit in waiting rooms for years to get here the legal way. We're talking about paperwork. We're talking about medical exams, background checks, a stranger behind a thick glass window deciding your entire future with stacks and stacks of forms and stamps and telling you to come back. Stress, anxiety. That's the line. That's the actual line that everybody keeps talking about. And turns out that there's a much faster way. And it's called sneaking across the border. And apparently it comes with a return flight guaranteed to whatever country happens to have room that week. Nobody snuck into Guatemala. These people who broke into one specific country got caught, and they're told that their trip is over. Mexico is saying, they're saying that it's not their problem anymore. It's not us. I want you guys to watch what Mexico's own government said out loud on record to reporters asking why they weren't taking their own citizens back.
The government of Mexico accepts the return of all its nationals. It therefore rejects the deportation of Mexican nationals to third countries and has no such agreement actually in place. So
accepts returns of all its nationals. It's a beautiful sentence, should have been written down before its own citizens started showing up in Guatemala City instead of Guadalajara, Mexico. Mexico wants credit for an open door. It's actually not opening fast enough to matter. Period. And here's the part, you guys, that nobody in that studio wants to say out loud. This is not unique to Mexico. It's not personal. It is a franchise.
Homeland Security sources tell us that for the past few months, the Trump administration has been flying Mexican deportees around Mexico to instead send them to Guatemala and Honduras, two countries in Central America. And the objective, we are told by U.S. officials, Kelly and Vlad, is to deter illegal immigration from Mexico by sending some of their citizens further south away from the U.S.-Mexico border, so it is harder for them to try to cross the border illegally a second, third, or subsequent time. It is also a message of deterrence, I am told. The Trump administration has been sending people to so-called third-party countries across the globe, including in Africa, places like Eswatini, South Sudan, Libya, Liberia, and other countries across the globe to basically send the message to people here in the country illegally that not only are they at risk of being deported to their home countries, but potentially they could be sent to a country where they have no ties, where they don't speak the language, and where they could be effectively in legal limbo.
Now, Guatemala and Honduras, somewhere there's a spreadsheet with open sheets on a plane and a country willing to hold the door open. And Mexico just got added to the roster like a substitute teacher getting called on a Tuesday. And Liberia already found out what happens when the flight actually lands.
The Trump administration has sent its first group of so-called third country deportees to Liberia, meaning people deported to a country that is not their own. About 20 people from different countries landed outside Liberia's capital, Monrovia, on Thursday. CBS News reports a small group refused to get off the plane and had to be escorted off by American officials.
A group of grown men physically had to be walked off a plane in Liberia because they didn't like where it landed. Not detained, not chained. They just handed them a boarding pass to a country that they never asked to see, and their reaction was to sit in their seats like a toddler refusing to leave Chuck E. Cheese. Now imagine you guys trying to sneak back in the United States from Honduras. It's definitely not a shorter drive. That is a visa application, a new coyote fee, a new border, and this time you're doing it with the exact paper trail that already got you caught once. Good luck with that one, buddy. Here's who's actually mad at all of this. And it's not who the panel wants you to think it is.
President Sheinbaum of Mexico tends to speak out of both sides of her mouth. She says that Mexico will gladly welcome back Mexican nationals and then turn around and say, but the U.S. benefits from Mexican deportable aliens staying in the U.S. This is about money. And when large populations of your nationals live in another country, like the U.S., that is an escape valve for Mexico. That means less pressure on the Mexican government to make sure so many Mexicans are employed in Mexico. And billions of dollars are sent out of the U.S. to Mexico and other countries. And in many of these countries, it forms a large part of their GDP, including Mexico. So unfortunately, this is mostly about money.
Claudia Sheinbaum, president of Mexico, outraged in one breath and cashing a remittance check in the next. Every Mexican citizen working in the United States illegally is one less person that Mexico has to employ, one less person that Mexico has to house or count their unemployment numbers if they do that. I'm not sure. It's definitely not compassion driving those foreign ministry statements. It's bookkeeping. Here's how this whole thing actually works, and it's not complicated once you see it. You get caught, your home country doesn't want you back fast enough, or your home country benefits from you actually staying gone, so it drags its feet in taking you back. The federal government isn't sitting around waiting for a country that clearly isn't in a hurry. It finds a seat in the next available flight, wherever that flight happens to be going. That, at least in my opinion, you guys, is not punishment intended to be cruel. That is a landlord here changing the locks because the old tenant already skipped town a bunch of times, and everybody knows it. And here's what actually gets buried under all the outrage here.
The Trump administration has ramped up third-party deportations. They've sent roughly 2,300 Mexican migrants to Guatemala this year, with dozens more sent to Honduras. Guatemala says the migrants are only there in transit and are generally returned to Mexico within 24 hours. Mexico has objected to the practice, saying its citizens have the right to enter the country.
That is not a Fox News alert here. That is a straight, boring wire headline sandwiched between gas prices and Walmart earnings reports, treated like something routine as weather. And Guatemala's own president confirmed that most of these people getting bussed right back into Mexico within 24 hours anyways. So all of this is not permanent exile like Dungeons and Dragons over here. It's a layover with an attitude problem. Meanwhile, a U.S. citizen waiting on a legal family visa is sitting in a backlog that runs for years and years, sometimes over a decade, doing it exactly the way that the law says it's supposed to be done. My family did it. Nobody's rerouting a plane to speed up that line. Mexico said it accepts returns of all its nationals. Its own citizens are landing in Guatemala instead. A cable panel called a plane ticket cruelty. That's the news cycle we're in. The men on that ticket already proved once that they'd rather break the law than wait the line. It's funny how sympathy shows up the second that the free ride ends. Nobody snuck out of Honduras to get here. Good luck with sneaking back in through it. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.